Hi, my name is Perry Cooper here with the Port of Seattle. We're here to talk about the Sustainable Airport Master Plan, or SAMP, as a lot of people may have heard about it. We're going to get into a little bit more detail here today, and with us is Rob Adams, who's the Executive Vice President of Landrum & Brown. First, give people an idea of what your company is. You're a global aviation planner, and that's why we brought you into this process.
That's correct. We've been in business almost 70 years, working on airports only. So this is our bread and butter, if you will. And we've been, for the last 35 years, have a practice that is specifically focused on environmental issues at airports. And we've worked at airports all over the country. All of the top 50 airports, we have done these types of studies in the past, and we're in the industry. We're one of the leaders in terms of aviation environmental planning.
So this is nothing new to you, and you've also got the background that you've worked with the Port of Seattle and SeaTac Airport for quite a few years as well.
Yes,
too.
that's correct. So, starting back in the mid-1990s, we've worked on and off with the port on various issues, dealing with environmental issues as well as planning issues.
So again, everybody's probably heard about or heard the term SAMP if you're watching this video, Sustainable Airport Master Plan. What is it to begin with for people that do not know, and why do we really need to do this?
Okay, so the SAMP was a master plan that was prepared by the port, and its goal was to create a blueprint for the airport to meet future demand. This region is growing, as everybody is aware. And the statistics are that the Puget Sound area will add another 1 million people by 2035. That type of growth translates into growth in activity at airports. People want to fly in and out of the airport to visit, for work. So there's a direct relationship between those two things. So the SAMP came up with a long-term vision to address that growth and how the airport would accommodate those passengers and aircraft and automobiles. And so that was completed in 2018. They also completed a what they call the near-term projects, which is focused more on 2027 timeframe. And there's about 30 different elements that are designed specifically to address the near-term capacity issues at the airport.
And right now we're in that scoping period where we're starting to look into that. We'll get to what the idea of scoping is in a moment here, but in breaking that down, what are some of those projects in that near term that we're talking about here?
Right, so one of the main projects is a second terminal that would be located north of the current terminal, where it sits today. Mm-hmm. And there's a variety of other projects that are focused on providing additional cargo capacity, as well as addressing some of the airfield needs that the FAA says the standards have to be put in place. There's also looking at fuel storage capacity to meet projected demand in 2027 as well.
And again, reference this too, is that this is about us handling additional traffic that's coming to the airport. It's not that we're building it to attract more.
Correct.
It's because the growth is happening so fast, we need to find ways to make this a much more passenger-friendly experience that's already here with this growth of the region, right?
That's absolutely true. The forecasts of demand for the airport are based on the growth of the region as a whole. And as I mentioned earlier, there's a direct correlation between population growth and people wanting to use and needing to use the airport to fly in and out of the community.
So then what we're doing then here with the port is then kicking off this environmental review process. What is all involved in that? What's the steps here?
So the first step is scoping, which is where we're at today. Nothing has been decided. There's been no decisions made about the projects at all. This is the first step in the environmental process, and it's called scoping. And the purpose of that is to have the public and agencies give their input and opinions about what types of things should be studied in the environmental review process. Once we complete scoping, we will then go into an environmental analysis phase where we will be identifying what the potential impacts are of the near-term projects. We will then look at mitigation options for those impacts. And then at that point, we will publish a draft environmental review study that the public and agencies will then have opportunities to provide comments on. And at that point, there will be more public meetings and more website updates where people can get the information. Once we receive all the comments and respond to all of the comments, we will then prepare a final environmental review document, and then the two agencies that are leading this, the Port of Seattle and the Federal Aviation Administration, they will then make their decisions based on that document.
So for viewers, that's probably what their key is right now, is how do I get involved? How do I get some of my comments in there? What's my availability?
Right, so we have a number of ways that people can participate in the scoping process. The first is a website or an online open house. The address of that is sampenvironmentalreview.org, and there they can get more detailed information about the near-term projects as well as the SAMP in general. And there's opportunities there for them to leave comments that we will receive. We also are going to hold 4 public open houses starting in September. Those will be on September 10th, 12th, 17th, and 19th. And those will give an opportunity for people to come and talk to subject matter experts like myself and others on the team. And they'll have the opportunity there to make comments. If people would like to mail comments in, they can find information on where to mail their comments on the website as well.
We'll take comments any way that we can get them. Very
Absolutely.
much welcome.
And the comments need to be in by September 28th, which is the end of the comment period for scoping.
And scoping is about figuring out what those topics would be. But like I say, you guys have done this before. The process has been handled at other airports. So there's already an idea of what topics should be there. What are some of those topics?
Yeah, so there's a couple dozen topics that we're required to look at through federal and state law. Those generally can be categorized as looking at air quality and climate, noise and compatible land use. We also will look at biological resources and natural resources. We will look at social and community issues, as well as hazardous materials and public properties. But like I said, there's a couple dozen specific categories that we're required to look at, but those group them together like that.
So the public can have some ideas. It may not be a huge general category, maybe something much more specific as well too. And we want to hear what those are.
Absolutely. That is the purpose of scoping, is for people to have the opportunity early in the process, right at the very beginning, to give us their opinions about what types of things should be studied, the methods that should be studied. They can ask us or suggest things about alternatives that should be looked at. So it's really open for their comment on how this environmental review should be conducted.
And when will this environmental review be completed overall?
So we're thinking that draft environmental review document will be complete and ready for public review in the fall of 2019. And then the final will be complete by the end of 2019.
And there's opportunities within that period for more comment back and forth from communities and individuals?
Absolutely. There will be comment period for the draft environmental review, and there will be more public open houses and more website updates at that time as well once we have the information to share.
Okay, and then who are the agencies that are responsible for reviewing these? You actually have another couple of acronyms that we hear a lot from folks, SEPA and NEPA.
Right.
Describe those for us.
Sure. So there's a federal process, which is the National Environmental Policy Act, or NEPA, and the Federal Aviation Administration is the lead agency that will implement NEPA for reviewing the near-term projects. They will make sure that all of the federal laws and statutes and guidance are covered in the environmental review documents. Mm-hmm. On the state side, Washington State's Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA, will be implemented, and the lead agency will be the Port of Seattle. And in that role, they will make sure that all of the state guidance is followed as well, and that they will take responsibility for that process of the SEPA.
Okay, and then local and state or other regional agencies, including governments, get an opportunity to impact this or have their comments to it. Correct?
Absolutely. So state and federal agencies and even local jurisdictions have the opportunity to participate in scoping as well as make comments on the draft environmental reviews, just like the public can. But they'll have additional opportunities when we're dealing with issues that deal specifically with a law that they administer, or if there are impacts to a specific jurisdiction, that there'll be one-on-one coordination that will occur with those agencies as needed.
As individuals, can you really make an impact on this?
Absolutely. I've seen several cases over my career where individuals have brought up information or brought up issues in the community that we just quite frankly weren't aware of, and so it was a good outcome for the process.
And you've already heard some feedback right now here in the Seattle area, correct? How do you
Yes,
work
so
with
we've
that?
been reviewing and attending the Port Commission meetings where people have the opportunity to make public testimony. We've also attended several of the port's outreach efforts here over the last couple of months. And we've definitely heard specific issues time and again. Those include concerns about noise from aircraft overflights. They've expressed concern about pollutants that are being emitted from aircraft engines. And then also just generally the negative impacts on quality of life for people who are living around the airport has been mentioned several times as well. So we're definitely aware of those issues and are taking those seriously.
Okay, well, great, Rob. I appreciate you joining us, and I think what we want to do is reinforce again how people can get involved. We're talking the website, other different ways. Let's review that again.
Okay, so the website is sampenvironmentalreview.org, and there they can make comments, they can get more information, and there's specific information on there about where they can mail comments or email comments. Also, the public open houses, the meeting dates and locations and times are all on the website as well. There will be 4 public open houses that we hope people will attend, and again, those are September 10th, 12th, 17th, and 19th.
Okay, and then the end of our scoping process is September 28th?
Yes, we need all of the comments in by September 28th for us to start reviewing those.
Okay, great. So hopefully you are caught up on what you need to know about the Sustainable Airport Master Plan, or SAMP. Rob, thanks for joining us.
Great.
We appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.